Hello, my name's Rachael Mead. I'm a poet and a writer, and I've been asked to bring along some books and just speak a little bit about how important they've been to me, and just give you some recommendations based on things that I've loved in the past. So the first one is an anthology that I read back when I first started trying to write poetry, and it's called Staying Alive, Poems for Real Poems for Unreal Times, and it's put out by Blood Axe Books, they're a UK publisher of poetry, and they publish some of the world's most amazing poets, and they put this anthology together a couple of decades ago now, I think, when I read it, there were just so many poems in here that really spoke to me, that I found I was moved and inspired to write myself. You may not be able to see this, but I'm one of those terrible readers that when I come across something that I really love and that really moves me, and that I dog-ear the page. And if you can see, there are just it's almost as if every third page is dog-eared in this book. I loved it so much, and it's and I would recommend it for anyone who loves poetry and who may be or who loves poetry and may be thinking about starting to write themselves, because this is full of very powerful and also very accessible poetry. So that's recommendation number one. My second recommendation is a book by one of my favourite poets, Mary Oliver. I bought this book years and years ago now, back when Borders was a bookstore that was back in Adelaide, so that should date it a bit. And it's an anthology of new and selected poems. But I loved this book so much that I went back and bought all of Mary Oliver's individual collections. Her work is about the natural world. She's an American poet, and she lives in Maine, in New England, and her writing practice is really amazing. She gets up very early, around dawn or just before every morning, and goes out and walks in the environment around her home, and then comes back, makes herself a bit of breakfast, and then writes for the rest of the day. And her poems speak simple humanity's relationship with nature, but in a very simple or deceptively simple way, because they're very profound, but they also are very accessible. So and she's I love her work, and have found it highly inspirational. So, and the third book is one that has just been released because I thought, these two are quite old, so I wanted to give you something, a recommendation that's more contemporary. So this book has just been released in the last year. It's by Andy Jackson. It's called Music Our Bodies Can't Hold, and the reason that I brought it here today is because I find it really inspirational, because Andy Jackson is doing something really exciting with poetry. The book is a collection of poems all about people who have Marfan syndrome, and which is a disorder of the connective tissue in the body. Andy Jackson himself has Marfan syndrome, and all of the poems in this book are written from the perspective of people who have Marfan syndrome, and people with Marfan syndrome you can tell because they're enormously tall and thin, and they have often very long fingers, and it's and some very famous people throughout history have also had Marfan syndrome. So Andy is basically he's interviewed a lot of people, and so that the poems are from those interviewees' perspective. But he's also imagined himself into the lives of famous people who have had Marfan syndrome. So, and it's beautiful, powerful, and is and just shows that the huge potential of poetry in because all of this work is non-fiction, and is speaking about a really serious condition, and it is done absolutely beautifully. I can't recommend this book highly enough. There's also, if you look on the ABC Radio National's website, I heard just recently Mike Ladd interviewed Andy Jackson on the Earshot program. So sorry to cross promote, but if you're interested in this book, look it up on Radio National and grab yourself a copy, because it's a magnificent piece of work. Thank you very much.